everyone. So it looks like the Buddy Hield and Myles Turner to the Lakers trade isn't dead after all. Now, the whole deal was to lock up Myles Turner. Basically, what he did is he signed a contract that is kind of front-loaded. So they renegotiated his current contract and gave him an extra $17.1 million. They needed to get over the cap, so this is kind of their way to do it, kind of front-load this contract, and then it trickles down the next 2 years. So in 2023-2024 season, he'll earn about $21 million, and then he drops even lower in the 2024-2025 season to about $20 million per year. And for the Indiana Pacers, what this does is several things. One, it makes it more stable in regards of negotiations and just having him as an asset in any potential trade, whether it's to the Lakers or somebody else, right? Before, you have this urgency of like, okay, well, we don't want to lose Myles Turner for nothing, right? And a lot of teams are reluctant to take Myles Turner because they're like, well, we're going to have to pay Myles Turner like $30 million a year. And if we don't, what's going to happen? That was one of my biggest concerns with the Lakers going and trading for Myles Turner, because it's like, okay, well, if you go and trade for Myles Turner, you have no choice. You have to pay him whatever he wants, right? Because if you don't pay him that, then you run the risk of him leaving, and you just gave up 2 first-round picks for Myles Turner, right? And there are a lot of the same issues that I have are still present, but this was a big one that was resolved, right? And I do think that after the Rui Hachimura trade, I do think that this deal does make a little more sense than it did earlier, but it's still not my favorite deal, although I wouldn't be upset if this gets done. But from the Indiana Pacers side, this was huge for them because now they don't have that pressure of like, we have to trade him. We have to get rid of him because if we don't, then he leaves. Also, what his contract did, if they do decide to keep him, based on countless reports, they're not out of the conversation of trading him. He is still trade eligible, and if the right deal comes along, they will still move him. But again, there's not the pressure to move him. And what this contract does is it's very significant because Tyrese Halliburton, his extension is the 2024-2025 season. So when Myles Turner's contract hits that decline of 16, so 16% is projected to go up in the salary cap, right? And once that happens, they'll have more money, and Myles Turner's contract drops down in price, which essentially makes it a lot more easy for the Indiana Pacers to kind of bear whatever kind of extension Halliburton's going to get, which you'd imagine is going to be very significant. It's going to be very high. But the possibility of Myles Turner going to the Lakers is still a very real possibility. They didn't do this with the intentions of like solely keeping him, right? It was to give the Indiana Pacers that flexibility one way or the other. Right now, kind of like the Bojan Bogdanovic. Think of the Detroit Pistons, right? The Detroit Pistons wanted to lock up Bojan Bogdanovic with the intentions of, if the right deal comes along, we'll trade him. But we don't have to trade him now because we got him for pennies on the dollar, and now we locked him up for 2 years. So if we find a deal that we like, sure, you can have him. He's yours. Congratulations. But if there aren't any deals that we like, okay, well, then we'll just keep him, and he's a piece that could help now and still, well, especially in the Pacers scenario, Myles Turner is much younger than Bojan Bogdanovic, so he's a piece that can help for the future as well, right? He's not 33 to where it's like, yeah, it doesn't really fit our timeline. By the time, we're able to put a real true contending roster around, we're in trouble because Myles Turner, he'll be on his way out. No, it's not like that. He's still young enough to where, in 6 years, he'd still be in his prime if he can stay healthy, which he's done a really good job about, right? And then from the Lakers standpoint, now, I still don't like the idea of giving up both unprotected firsts for Myles Turner and Bojan and Buddy Hield. I just don't. I like the idea now more with Rui Hachimura, and it's more for the future, right? Not so much right now. Do I think that they could help right now? Absolutely, right? I mean, you're talking about arguably the best front court in the league with Buddy Hield or with Anthony Davis and Myles Turner, hands down, right? good luck trying to score in the interior with those two guys. But, you went and got Rui Hachimura, so what's the plan? How are you going to structure this? Are you going to bring Rui off the bench, which would be my guess? You have LeBron play the 3, Davis play the 4, you have Turner play the 5, and then Rui would be the first forward for either Davis or LeBron, because you could play him at either the 3 or the 4, and the Lakers really want to play him at the 3 more and kind of develop him into that perimeter 3-and-D style 3 forward. But he is also capable of playing the 4 if you need him to, so you kind of have that. But what this does is this gives you Anthony Davis insurance, but it also gives you Thomas Bryant insurance, because you're probably going to lose Thomas Bryant after this season. He's played so well that there's going to be a team that's going to pay him probably more than what we could give him. Maybe he takes a little discount to stay in LA. That's a real possibility. But in reality, like, if you're him, last season you missed pretty much the entire season after a significant injury. You missed like a quarter of the season this season because of significant injury. Like, if you're him, go get your bag, right? Go get your money, if we're being fair, right? From a selfish standpoint, I would love for him to, take another vet minimum, right? Like, let's do that, or we'll give you $3 million this year, something like that. But in reality, he needs to get his bag. Well, if you have Myles Turner, then that's your insurance for now and the foreseeable future. If him and Anthony Davis work out, perfect. You can, when his time's up, you can extend him. Anthony Davis, we'll see if we'll keep him. But what's nice about Rui is that when LeBron does eventually leave, whenever that is, very possibly within the next 2 seasons, right? Because that's when his contract would be up. If he ends up leaving the Lakers, well, now you have Rui that can just come in and slot right in, and now you have a front court of Davis, Myles Turner, and Rui Hachimura for the foreseeable future. Buddy Hield is a guy that can help now. Defensively, it's a concern. I don't know if it'd be best to start Buddy Hield, because you really need perimeter defense, right? So you're almost better off going Dennis Schroeder, Patrick Beverley at that point, LeBron, Davis, and Myles Turner. Or flip Patrick Beverley for like a Josh Richardson or something, to where you get like a true size shooting guard, something like that, and then bring Buddy Hield off the bench. I wouldn't mind something like that. Maybe you could take that, or maybe you take Patrick Beverley and take Lonnie Walker. Maybe take those two and go get another shooting guard or another piece. Problem is you're almost guaranteed that you're going to have to give up both first-round picks for Buddy Hield and Myles Turner, because Indiana doesn't have to trade him now. Now, before they signed the extension, yes, you could have negotiated. Hey, look, you could either get nothing and run the risk of getting nothing, or you take this first-round pick and we'll give you, a couple seconds or a pick swap or whatever. Well, now Indiana, they hold the cards. They have the power. So now they could say, hey, yeah, we'll still trade you Myles Turner, but now we want 2 unprotected firsts. And do they want more, right? Do they look at it and go, hey, you had your chance to get these 2 guys for 2 first-round picks and you didn't take it. Well, now we got Myles Turner long-term. So now we want 2 firsts and 2 seconds. If that's the case, walk away. It's not worth it. I don't even really like the idea of 2 first-round picks, if I'm being honest. But, I do think, like, if your starting 5 is Dennis Schroeder, Patrick Beverley, especially the way Patrick Beverley has played as of late, if he can continue that play, then I think he has value, right? So if you could take Patrick Beverley, Dennis Schroeder, LeBron James, Myles Turner, and Anthony Davis, if that's your starting 5, you got a really good starting 5. And then you'd have, say Lonnie Walker, Austin Reeves, you'd have, Buddy Hield, Winning Gabriel, Rui Hachimura. I do think the Lakers would probably have to go get another guard, right? Go get another point guard, but you could probably get one of those in the buyout market, or maybe you could package, maybe at that point, maybe you package Patrick Beverley and Lonnie Walker. Maybe you go get like a Mike Conley, right? Like, would Mike Conley be nice at that point to have as a backup? And then maybe you start Reeves or Walker, or you trade Walker, sorry. So maybe you start Reeves or like Troy Brown at the 2. That could be another option. However, I think if you don't do another deal after that, right, then I think realistically, you start Beverly, because I just think Beverly and Schroeder, having those two pit bulls in the front, and then you have the two big bouncers in the back with, LeBron James at the three, kind of being the glue guy, kind of being the host of the club to keep everything together. I think that would be just a great, just physical, sizable type of starting five that's really well-rounded. Again, especially if Patrick Beverley can shoot the way he's been shooting. He's been shooting something like 44% from three in the last 10 games or something like that. Not saying he's going to shoot that great, but can he stay to his average of 37, 38%? I still do really like the idea of Buddy Hield, just getting Buddy Hield. Depending on what the price is, I don't think you give up a first round pick for Buddy Hield. I don't. Which is also why I don't like the idea of giving up two for, I think Myles Turner is worth a first, easily. I just don't think Buddy Hield is worth the first. I just think that, one, yes, he is a great shooter. He's shooting 43% on 9 attempts, but he is a huge liability defensively, and he's really one-dimensional. He doesn't really give you anything else, right? I've had people, I said this in a previous video where I was Buddy Hield is very one-dimensional. People were oh, he's a great passer. He averages 2 assists per game. Oh, he's not that bad of a defender. He's 3 points worse than league average. He's not even in the top 400 of players. He's bad defensively, really bad, historically bad defensively. He's just not a good defender. He doesn't pass the ball well. I don't know where, and I had several people say that, oh, he's actually a pretty good passer. He's not. and then from every metric, outside of shooting the ball, he's not very good at anything else. But he's just an elite 3-point shooter, and the Lakers really need that. But I just don't think he's worth a first round pick. Now, if you could do anything else, if you could get Buddy Hield and Myles Turner and give up a unprotected first, a pick swap in 2 seconds, cool. Go ahead, do that. Because I think at that point it's worth it. Because then you still have one of those first. You still have Patrick Beverley, you still have Lonnie Walker, and then maybe you could go get another piece or two, right? I think that would be ideal. Because at that point, if you got Buddy Hield and you got Myles Turner, you're going to have to pay Rui. Your chips are all the way in already at this point. So go get that other piece to upgrade. Go get a shooting guard that can slot in next to Dennis Schroeder, or maybe you go get, at that point, maybe you get a Fred VanVleet, right? Or ideally Gary Trent, right? If you could add Gary Trent, watch out. If you could end up turning everything into Gary Trent, Buddy Hield, and Myles Turner, man, and then on top of that, you got Rui Hachimura. So not only are you set for this season, but you're set for the next 4, 5 plus. That would be ideal. But I don't really know if they're going to be able to do all that, because Indiana now just has, again, they have all the cards. They hold all the cards. They have all the leverage, all the power now. The dynamic really shifted here. And I don't mind the idea. If you can get Buddy Hield for 2 seconds, go get Buddy Hield for 2 seconds. Let them keep Myles Turner, which Indiana still really wants to move Buddy Hield. There have been several reports from the Indiana Pacers side, insiders with Indiana, that are they want to move Buddy Hield. And especially now because they just gave Myles Turner that extension. So they want to get off of Buddy Hield's money, so that way they have a little more flexibility going forward to kind of improve the team and upgrade the roster. Not just that, but you have Mathurin, who's just been a stud for them. He's very likely going to end up being thrusted into that starting role next season. So it makes a lot of sense to get rid of Buddy Hield. But if you can get Buddy Hield for 2 seconds, there's a ton of value in that for the Lakers beyond just the player, because he's also a much more manageable type of contract for next season that would be expiring. So he helps you this season. If he's really good for you, you could keep him. Or if you don't have to give up a first, and let's say you don't make any other trades, right? You could then, in the offseason, you'd have Buddy Hield's, $20 million expiring contract and 3 first-round picks at that point. That could probably get you something pretty significant, right? Or you still have the Russell Westbrook and 2 first trade. So I don't mind the idea of Buddy Hield by himself, depending on what that is. I think realistically, if the Lakers trade for Buddy Hield, I think they just trade for both of them. I think they get Buddy Hield and Myles Turner. I think that's the play that the Lakers would do. But Jeannie doesn't seem very high on it, so I don't necessarily think it'll happen unless Indiana is willing to come down on the price. But I don't see them doing that. I think that and this is just my thoughts, but I think they signed him because they want to keep him, but they're not going to turn down a deal, right? It's just like it's the exact same thing with the Bojan Bogdanovic and the Detroit Pistons, right? Like, we really like Bojan. We want to keep Bojan, but if somebody offers us a good deal, we're going to trade Bojan, right? It's the same thing. That's how I think the Pacers are looking at this. Like, we want to keep Myles Turner because now we don't have to worry about the center position, and we have the flexibility with him going forward. So if a good deal comes along, let's say next season, right? Well, then you can go and trade him next season, right? So the Pacers, I think they look at it as like, we got him now. He's ours. And now we have that flexibility to where we don't have to trade him. We don't even necessarily want to trade him. But if a deal is there, why wouldn't we trade him? Right? Like, if you're willing to give us, 2 unprotected firsts for, essentially a guy that's worth a first and a guy that's worth 2 seconds, then yeah, why wouldn't we? Right? So, like, that's the whole thing. I really do think that I don't really see this deal happening, if I'm being honest. I think Buddy Hield is a real option. I think Buddy Hield is actually very likely for the Lakers to get. But I'm really leaning towards, and I do want to talk about this in another video, but I really think Toronto. I think that's going to end up being the deal that the Lakers do. We're just seeing a lot of traction and a lot of smoke building up with Toronto and the Lakers. And usually when there's smoke, there's fire. So it's just something to keep in mind. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments section below. What do you think? Do you think that the Lakers still make the play? Do you want the Lakers still make the play? Do you think, no, stay away from that, let's go look for other things? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. Let me know down in the comment section below.